I just made up my lines as I thought of them.
Right?
It was really easy for me.
It's so much easier to do it that way.
I just kind of said whatever came into my head, and then worked it out. That's the beauty of branch manager, is that it just works it out.
I've been through a lot, but I found where I'm meant to be. What do I do next?
Welcome to Paley Front Row, presented by Citi. I'm Damian Holbrook, senior writer for TV Guide magazine. The Paley Center is dedicated to celebrating excellence in media, especially now. To help continue to bring you outstanding programs like this one, please go to paleycenter.org to donate. Today, we welcome the hilarious cast and creators of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend, Netflix's first interactive comedy special. We are joined here by executive producers Tina Fey and Robert Carlock, and cast members Ellie Kemper, who plays Kimmy Schmidt, Titus Burgess, who plays Titus Andromedon, Jane Krakowski, who plays Jacqueline White, Carol Kane, who plays Lillian Kalstepper, Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Prince Frederick, and John Hamm, Reverend Richard Wayne Gary Wayne. So, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Everybody. So, all right, how soon, Robert and Tina, how soon after you wrapped the series did you start planning this? Or was it already in the works?
I think the conversation started before the series ended. As the last season was ending, we knew that we were going to try to do it, right? Netflix came to us with this technology that they were excited about. They showed us Bandersnatch a little bit early before it went up on the platform, which was really cool to be able to see it early, especially. And they asked if we thought we could do a Kimmy with it, and we immediately said yes. And that's it. It was a longer window after that for us to actually write it and budget it more than anything. Yeah.
And okay, so that's what I wanted first, because I was on set when you guys were filming the final scene at the plaza, and Daniel, Carol, Jane, Titus all told me about the technology. What was the technology?
Robert?
Oh, I don't know. It was, Netflix has this thing called Branch Manager that we would enter the script into. Well, first we had an outline, right, Tina? And that it would then generate these little discrete pods that at the bottom would have the choice that you ultimately would see on the streaming platform. And at each step, we were putting it into this Branch Manager system. The script would go into that, and then the edit would go into that. So you could play the script or play the outline and test, okay, how is this? Pathways. Yeah, test the different pathways and stuff. And fortunately, we had an editor, this guy, Kyle Gilman, who also did the show, who has a computer programming background and I think is a hobbyist in computer programming, because he was doing actual coding and stuff and working with Netflix to do the things that we wanted to do, which of course was to try to play with a lot of it and do new things.
So for the actors, how was that learning this new, it wasn't just a paper script anymore. What was this like? Did you have to take a class on how to read your scripts?
I finally asked for a hard copy of the script to have that paper, even though I think it was heavy. It was just easier for my brain to understand because, yeah, Branch Manager I thought it would be no problem. I struggled with it. Did anyone else struggle with it?
I needed this giant phone book for anybody who remembers phone books.
Yeah.
I needed the phone book size script. I couldn't do the other thing.
Same.
Because
I just made up my lines as I thought of them. Right? It was really easy for me.
It's so much easier to do it that way.
I just kind of said whatever came into my head, and then worked it out. That's the beauty of Branch Manager, is that it just works it out, and you just.
You weren't supposed to be in it, John. You just showed up.
I wasn't. No, I just showed up. I actually just showed up. I was
Branch Manager, and we were like, oh.
Yeah.
So was this the writer's dream, though, to get to actually do all of the jokes, not even all the jokes. With this show, we've always talked about how it's a joke-heavy show, but to get as many as possible on the screen as ever.
Yeah, it was great because you could spread them out over different versions of things, and you could try jokes that normally would be like, oh, is this too crazy? But you could try it in a dead end so that it doesn't mess up the story or it doesn't compromise the character too much. So yeah, it was a nerd's dream.
And not just jokes. I mean, you could do story things that you would never do in a million years, like kill everybody.
Well, okay, I did add, that's one of my questions is how many ways did you think, like, you kill so many people so many times. Did you have like a running list of ways you can kill them?
I realized too late that we never killed Prince Frederick, I think.
I think I got away with it there. Yeah.
Never too late.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Jacqueline and Prince Frederick and Lillian are the only ones who survive.
Well,
Jacqueline plane crash.
Oh, the plane crash, you're right.
Yeah.
Lillian never gets killed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Lily never gets killed.
Wow.
I have to run the subway, thank you.
Exactly. Well, okay, so we'll get to that in a second, but I did notice that Lillian seemed to have softened a little since we saw her take her job with the MTA. I do feel like she regained a little bit of sanity. She was no longer trying to blow things up.
Right. She bottomed out.
So what was, when you decided, okay, we're going to do this, were there other ideas that you had, or did you know you wanted to do the wedding?
Well, I think, sorry, Tina, but yeah, I think one of the benefits of Netflix going to us before we finished the series, and we were talking about what we thought was going to be a movie before they showed us this technology, meant that we did hold off on a couple things where we thought, oh, we don't want to end the series necessarily with Kimmy dwelling on the past or with Kimmy having romantic success. That didn't feel like that's what the series was. So we kind of intentionally held off on specifically those two things, knowing that Dan and John would need a job.
So certain things, okay, when you decided the type of man that Kimmy would wind up with, considering that she had a couple love interests, how did you come up with this Prince Frederick idea?
Well, we thought of who else would have a very weird childhood, and both a prince and, to be honest, Daniel.
Yeah, that totally fits.
How so? I'm not familiar with Daniel's work.
No, absolutely.
And Daniel, because you are playing the 12th in line, possibly 11th,
Yes.
to the throne, and where you come from, did you have to worry about actually offending any true royals that you know?
I don't. Everyone has this fantastic assumption that I know royalty. I was asked this in an interview the other day, and I said, like, I think, like, I'd met like Fergie at one point at the first Harry Potter premiere, and everyone was like disgusted with my answer. Like, they were very like ashamed of that I hadn't met better royalty. I was like, no, I haven't. But yeah, like, it's I don't know. I feel like even English people who like love the monarchy, a lot of them can still acknowledge that it is like a crazy institution with a lot of insane traditions and pageantry, and like it's very fertile ground for comedy. So I definitely, I don't think anyone would be offended by it. Although maybe I'm wrong.
I just think it's cool that Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas is royalty. That's amazing.
I know, that is pretty amazing. Well, she is the Duchess.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Okay, so for the core four, Ellie, Titus, Jane, the core four, and Carol, how was it jumping right back into the world of Kimmy Schmidt when you just left it, but coming into it with so much time that is supposed to have passed since the end?
For me, fun. In a void.
Because there is like, everyone had jumped ahead in the finale to the point where you all had immense successes at this point. So now you got to come back and play these characters having had the success.
Well, unless I'm remembering incorrectly, there wasn't a great deal of time that passed from when we ended the series to
In real life.
in real life.
Right, in real life.
So I don't know that I had the departure that you're describing, or the emotional departure. It still felt like we were in it because we went right into press for it, and then we started filming. So it didn't feel like I had left. I could see how you would think that, though, given that the interactive special starts 5 years later. But no, it felt at home and correct and normal.
Well, I love the idea that these people would still be hanging out. You know,
Yeah.
5 years later, regardless of their successes, they're still hanging out.
Right.
They've not made any new friends.
But I think that's the beauty of how they wrapped up the series, and that's what sort of left it so open for us to have the chance to make this special, was that we all grew so much within our own characters, but always needed each other to function. and they were our core friendship of friends. And I think that's sort of the beauty of the series, because we're all from such different demographics of humans. And I think that was the beauty of the whole series. And I think we all felt so satisfied by the endings that they wrote for our characters. So then to get to come back and play even further in a technology that I think so suits Tina and Robert and Meredith and Scardino and Sam Means, who also wrote it, because they have such a plethora of material for these characters and jokes that so many are so great that don't even make it. And this was like a chance we could actually film them all. And if you can find them, you can see them. And I think that was such a beautiful thing for us to get to do. It was a lot more work than I think any of us expected in the filming process, because it would say that we were doing maybe 7 pages, but it would really be 14, or because we would do so many different versions of the scenes that weren't necessarily noted down, that it was interesting for all of us. But I think we were also game to be back together and reunited and to get to celebrate and play these characters again, because it was definitely a gift post the series being finished.
I don't think I was ever in the same scene as my co-stars. I was confused.
That's just the way you act, though, Titus. We actually all were there.
Well, you had like the setup, the initial setup, and then everyone does go into, like, I guess, their own branches. For Ellie, when you read the script, what did you think of Prince Frederick?
Oh, I was so happy that was the person that Kimmy ends up marrying, because it is such a perfect match. They're both so strange, and they are the perfect complement to each other, I think. And they're guileless, and they're just sincere weirdos, and I was delighted. And then the fact that Dan could play this part was just like, everything came together perfectly. Like, what an honor. So anyway, it was the perfect match for her.
So Daniel was hilarious in the read-through. Like, we had a read-through, and Daniel was like giving us full-on performance in the best way possible. And I mean, I know I personally felt like, ooh, I better get back into Jacqueline's high heels, because Daniel's doing this. And now we have to all catch up.
Well, in rewatching so many portions, because you get to go back and see stuff, there's a very weird, almost like kinky thing that is there between Kimmy and Frederick. There's some weird stuff there with the chompers and the "it hurts my place," and there's some, like, this special definitely goes into some places that I was like, okay, we're doing that now, including the stuff with John. There's a sequence, and I want to talk about that later, but talking about, like, filming scenes, like Jacqueline, I feel like, Jane, you probably spent a lot of time at the door of a trailer filming.
In the pouring rain.
Yeah, because it's just like you had every option there.
But with 2 amazing co-stars that were incredible to act opposite of, and that is, it was torrential rain, and you don't see it, which is the magic of the filmmaking, but also just the magic of our crew people, just like getting it done. Like, everybody, you know, through we had some bad weather during the filming of this, and everyone just like, I was like, aren't we calling it insurance day? And it was like, no, this is what we do. Like, it's like, oh, right, okay.
Days. I think we shot in like 24 days, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's as, long as a movie. And Jane, I think, shot those trailer scenes, I think, in a day, right?
Right, yeah.
And then, John, how long did you film the prison scenes?
I was in total, I think, on the movie for 2.5 days, because I was.
Oh my God! That's like Marlon Brando on Superman.
I was
he was paid like Marlon Brando too.
In Guava. I was on a film in Atlanta, and there was some question as to whether or not the dates were actually going to work, and we just kind of shoehorned it into a weekend or half a week, something. And again, it rained, and it was a lot, but it just got done. I mean, that was what was so great about coming back to all of this too, was like there was just the will to do it, and it was so fun. Even taking into account the the madness of the schedule and the weather and whatnot. And it was just a blast to do. And it was just all of the goofiness that's inherent there, and the strangeness of the process was fun. It didn't seem like work, so it was kind of a vacation from my other job to come do this job, and I just had a blast.
And John has been, I mean, we love actors outside of our little world like Dan and I guess John maybe is in our world, and hopefully Dan is too, who like to say yes to doing things. Yeah, welcome Daniel. But speaking of that other film, John was working full weeks on this other movie. At one point called and was like, how much am I in it? This is going to be really hard. And I remember being like, it's called Kimmy versus the Reverend. He said, okay, all right, we'll figure it out. I'll be there. And just, we so appreciate that. And we so appreciate how good these guys are at walking these crazy lines, and from going into Daniel and saying, hey, maybe on this one, instead of referring to your dog, uncle who might be a dog, what if you bark like a dog? Okay, great, I'll try that. And John, the entire thing, and all of these guys who are able to do these turns that we ask of these people, from having a gun pointed at them to saying, look out behind you, there's wolves, or whatever we ask of these people. And it's just amazing when it all comes together.
Okay, there's something. So, John, how many versions of the bagel line did you have?
Of the bagel line? What do I say about a bagel?
It's because of the water in New York that the bagels are so good.
God.
How many versions of that?
There's at least 2 or 3. And there's an awful lot of versions that I still haven't seen of the Reverend's reaction to the smell when the bunker is opened. that I maybe didn't make it into the edit, but yeah.
Because we're branch manager, we couldn't do it.
Titus, how many versions of you reading the baby exist?
Oh my
God. So many. Well, apart from me f***ing up the line so much, that was really fun, actually, and I didn't realize I enjoyed telling children off so much. So hats off to them for giving me that opportunity.
Well, and because you and Kimmy both give that baby some heat during it. Like Kimmy tells the baby to can it, she's trying to think.
Were there 4 babies? I've lost track of how many babies.
Yeah,
I guess there were just 2.
There was 2 babies.
3 babies? Yeah. My gosh, and it was raining then too. It was raining every day.
Okay. And then, okay, so Carol, you got the indoor story because you got to go to the bar. And there are sections where, like, when we go to it, Mimi is there. There are times where she's not. There are certain stuff, like, how long did it take to just get all of that organized? Because that I would imagine is a long day. And I feel like Daniel spent a lot of time dancing with a robot.
Well, for me, my day was mainly built around kissing Daniel a lot. And it was not easy, but I'm dedicated. It was so fun for me to get to play those two different characters. That was such a treat to be this straight-laced English nanny. Only Tina and Robert would give me a gift like that, and it was just really fun. And stealing the prince away from Kimmy, somebody had to do it, and it had to be me.
Respect. So we get all of this stuff, and Robert, I know you talked to Vanity Fair and said that there is an actual section of jokes that got cut somewhere buried in this show.
Yeah, I believe you have to, correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, if you remember, I believe if you've encountered Taco Snake, it's some of Ellie's funniest acting ever, which is saying a lot. It's Ellie listening at first overjoyed that she's going to hear Taco Snake sing A Christmas Carol.
Oh, it keeps going.
And
wait, please tell us how to get down this road, because I have not seen this.
I found it. I listened to that whole song, I swear to God. And I think
please, I must find it.
There has to be an equation to get people there.
Well, you have to.
It is long.
it, but now I can't remember how I got there. What is it? What?
You called Donna Maria.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Tina might remember better than I do.
No, you called Donna Maria. I don't remember. Maybe you have to call Donna Maria twice.
I think you have to call her twice.
Oh, I did not know that was an option.
No, it's hard.
Well, I
A lot opens up if you do the same thing over and over again.
Whoa!
Is that
The
right?
choice, a choice, if a choice goes away, that means there's nothing new to experience.
Okay.
If a choice is still there, it might be just a new joke. It might be the Yuko Apocalypse. It might be Taco Snake. And if you listen to all of Taco Snake, because you do get an option, Netflix insisted that we provide an option where people could get out of Taco Snake. And they were entirely correct in doing so. But if you listen to all of it, it goes back to the phone menu at Donna Maria's company, and one of the choices is Easter egg, and that's the few jokes that we cut. But it's a couple minutes of really fun stuff, including Daniel buying like a sheep, not knowing why he was being asked to do that. And we hadn't asked him to do that, which is the beauty. We were talking to
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was your improv.
Yeah, that was me. That was me taking. Yeah, that I did not question it. I remember that, like, it was one of those things where, like, we would, like, the camera was, like, picking off a lot of different people in one shot, and, like, you'd done a bit with me and then had moved on to another character, but I just took that person's direction and barred like a sheep.
I'm fascinated now. Like, I'm going to spend a lot of time now just clicking on the same options. But so there's something that you guys had to handle, and it was the actual, like, the reality of what the Reverend stands for and what he represented. John, first of all, how does it feel to be Robert Tina's, like, muse to, like, handsome idiots?
Awesome.
It's like we started with Drew on 30 Rock, Dr. Drew, and now the Reverend, he's not that smart either.
No, he is not at all. But you know, I can viscerally remember the day when Robert and Tina pitched this part to me in my apartment in New York City, and I was like, I mean, there were a lot of pretty fresh news stories about awful human beings who kept real women in dungeons and cages and things, and I thought, where are we going with this tonally? And the of course the solution was to make it as ridiculous and stupid as possible. And I think we even tweaked it even from the pilot on to make sure that we were very firmly in, you know, goofball land on this. But you know, it's only gotten dumber and goofier since then. Which is saying something, given the fact that I've humped an ottoman and amongst other things over the course of this show. But you know, just the idea of, you know, no funny business, and then of course immediately going into funny business is, I mean, the savior of it is that it's so ridiculous and funny, and that's what's fun to do, is to play that part. And same with Drew, like same with Dr. Drew, just like, of course he has a lady hand and he hand transplant or something, you know, it's just, there's no sense to it other than it's funny.
Right. Well, how was it, because he does kind of have a reckoning in this special. Like, we have that moment where Kimmy gets to ask him why he did it, and he faces up to what he's done.
Yeah, and it's actually, you know, it's testament to Tina and Roberts, as well as Sam and Meredith and everybody that contributed, but it's just really good writing. Like, it really is sort of a salient point to what that dynamic is, and his honest answer of, like, because I could, is just, it's so awful and heartbreaking and real, and you know, and then you get to shoot him with a rocket launcher if you want.
And so, Ellie, which one is your favorite option in that sequence?
Favorite? I don't know. That's a heavy sequence. I like the right. Is this any surprise? I like the right choice. I do think it's the most rewarding. But I mean, it's cathartic, maybe for the viewer to see. him die, but it's not the, I guess, noble choice. But that whole sequence is pretty dark. There are several very dark moments in the special, which, again, it's that fine line between, like, there's so, the premise is, of course, just, the central premise is extremely dark. But how you balance that with being insane and crazy and humping ottomans is really, it's like a magic trick. But yeah, it's all in the writing of how it's set up. But this I feel like this special sort of went there in terms of the trauma and the darkness.
Yeah, and I love it. And right after that sequence, when you open up the hatch to the new bunker, it's filmed as a heroic moment. It actually, it looks like Kimmy has superhuman strength lifting this door. Was that the intent, Tina and Robert?
With the door itself, probably not. But with the rescue, for sure, wanted it to be a real heroic moment. And I think all those things this series was always an experiment with tone and like, could we joke about these things at all? Did we make entertainment at all out of such a dark topic? And the push and pull of like the full tilt silliness and then trying to sneak up on you with the more raw darkness has always been like the most thrilling part of the project for me, the whole thing. And so it was so thrilling to see John, who's such a good actor, and Ellie is such a good actress, to be able to bank those turns in that last sequence. As we were editing it, I remember I was so excited. I was like, this is going to be a real turn for people, and they're going to be like, oh no, what's happening? And that brings me a lot of joy. But the fact, and what John and Daniel and all our regular cast are able to do is to ride that tone. It's very special actors who can ride the tone of crazy jokes and then pivot just enough that you do care about them, or you do feel frightened for them or sad for them when it's called for. And I think they were all really impressive at writing that in this movie as well as the series.
And Jane gets to do her part of destroying the Me Too movement.
Thank you.
Yeah. But for the entire run of the series, all I wanted was Jacqueline to sing. We finally get an option where she is singing in her happy place, and it turns out she's Countess Luann.
It's not her voice. It's my voice. That's why it sounds bad.
No, that's why it's amazing. It's like an Easter egg in itself. In fact, when you sent the track tape for me to learn it, I was like, please. First of all, I had like less than a day to learn it. I don't do French very well. Well, certain French. But they're gross. Get out there. It's those turds we keep making. It's so gross. It was so good that after we filmed it, I kind of begged Tina, to keep it as her, because I thought it was a really special sort of surprise that it's her singing and me lip syncing to her, which gives me so much joy. But also she did it so well. She sounds so French. It's so good.
Well, it definitely got like a money can't buy you class kind of thing from the whole sequence.
But Damien, Jane does sing in the series because Jane sings the theme song for Girl Big City.
Yes. But it's like, that's just a jingle at that point. I mean, and we get Titus, who has like hit a full-blown number in this one.
Freebird.
How familiar were you with Freebird?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Never.
No way.
My hand to God, I've never heard that song ever.
Ever?
No, and they did exactly what they should have done, which is send it days ahead. I didn't listen to it until I got on set.
Wow.
And me and Jeff went over to your corner, and and then when we got to the extended part where I was just like, this is a guitar, that's another guitar. But I had never heard that song before. And
I will say, I think
that's the song was.
Wow.
The most unanimous choice I believe everyone feels is that you should fully listen to Freebird.
Yes.
It's the 100 unanimous choice of the choices you can make.
All the way through. Especially because there is the moment where it's like 8 minutes later.
That's the real audio from the day. That wasn't re-recorded. That's the real audio from the day. That wasn't re-recorded later. That wasn't some like
That's crazy.
Wow.
It's amazing.
How beautiful.
And Jeff,
And so
That's some Anne Hathaway stuff right there, Titus.
that's straight up. That's going on your reel, right?
She'll tell you.
also that Jeff found a New Jersey-based Leonard Skinner band, right, Tina?
I think from Long Island, yeah, local Leonard Skinner cover band.
Yeah.
Where did you film their woodland escape? Because it looked like it was very, very hot out there.
It was hot. It was like Nyack, right? Or
Yeah, it was up the Hudson. It was right.
Some park, state park, right?
Yeah.
It's like 45 minutes outside of New York City.
The train like kept running by every time.
15 months.
Also, Ellie was so badass in this, but also 4 or 5 months pregnant.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
You know that
12 months pregnant, I think.
what did Robert say?
Is it like 12 months pregnant? at 30 months?
Well,
Time
3
I
of
was
them are
like-
mine.
I was like, how am I going to film a movie while pregnant? That was, when I look at the world today, that was the most joy. That was like a vacation. That was so easy and fun. That was a year ago, you guys.
Yeah.
How much fun was that? And now,
So
our-
fun.
that's what I have to say about that. It was everyone was very accommodating.
So I was on set for that final moment, and so when I came on, they're like, "Oh, we're filming Kimmy's wedding," which is literally the final minute of the special. It is solely just you walking down the aisle. You took over the plaza for how many days?
Like 3 days, right?
Yeah.
You had drones. You had Daniel filming as his own father. And I believe Kimmy, Ellie, were you on wheelies?
Wheelies? Roller skates?
Light up sneakers.
You had light up sneakers. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. All for just the final sequence.
Yeah.
There are 12 versions of that final sequence, I believe.
That
How-
you can watch?
Because you have Jacqueline being approached about ruining Me Too. You've got Titus coughing up the dirt.
Right.
You've got Daniel's father showing up.
Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un, his only friend at school.
Kimmy being pregnant is another option.
Kimmy's pregnancy showing.
Oh my God.
There's 12 of them, yeah.
How long, if you put every version to end, how long would this run?
As long as coronavirus.
Also just 3 months. It's over. It's over.
But like, so when you guys got the access to the final cut in this version, how much time did you spend rewatching it? Because a lot of actors don't like watching themselves, and this actually will force you to watch yourself over and over doing various takes.
I spent a solid like 4 hours in it and really went and did a lot of the redos. I like it. I did the same with Bandersnatch. It's like I knew that they were stuff that we had shot that I hadn't seen, so I knew that there was a way in, and I really wanted to find it, and it felt like a fun. I mean, again, it wasn't like there was much else to do, so it felt like a fun evening.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not kidding. I listened to however many minutes of Taco Snake, and on purpose, and I was justly rewarded. And in fact, I reached out to Robert and Tina and said, like, I want to know like how much of this I got. I want to see like how much I got, and I got like some thing from the editor about stuff, and I got about 90% of it. The one thing that I still haven't seen, because I have on the when it like rewinds and you go back, there's a shot of Tina that I could see, and I was like, wait, Tina's not in this. Like, what is that? And I still haven't found that, but I'm still working on it.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Me neither. Have you got any hints?
Just keep looking.
Yeah.
No?
Well, because you finally get the Yuko Uprising.
I don't remember how you get there.
The Yuko Uprising, super dark. The Uber Death, super dark. Like there are so many things that like, because you give us the rewinds, we get to go and find these things.
Jacqueline's plane crash.
The plane crash. This is so. Who was in charge on set of keeping everything straight? Just say to the actors, like, okay, right now we're filming this version of it.
A woman named Mary Kelly is the script supervisor. She's excellent. And then, you know, Robert and Sam and Meredith and I usually had a handle on it, but.
And Claire.
Yeah, and
Claire wasn't on this one. It was all Mary.
Oh,
Oh, you mean Claire Scanlon?
Yeah.
I meant top of it. Yes, Claire Scanlon, 100%.
Director Claire Scanlon, who has an editing background. She used to edit on The Office and came in knowing it pretty cold. But in the heat of a day, yeah, we all had to be on it because Ellie was not.
Oh, I was all over the place.
All over. You had pregnancy.
Mary kept handing me that, I don't know what we call it, that master document of like exactly what time it, what I couldn't wrap my head around it. Every day she offered it to me again, that kept in the special, in the world of Kimmy Schmidt, and it was, I never quite understood.
So the world of Kimmy Schmidt, we thought it was a shared universe with 30 Rock, with Kenneth. Was it Kenneth's relative working in Grundle County Prison?
Yes.
Consistent relative, yeah.
Sandy Parcell.
Okay.
We did not do, what was your pitch, Ham? Kenneth Carcel.
Oh, Kenneth Carcel. Because Carcel in Spanish means prison.
Carcel.
It works. It works. And then you give us, there's some buried Easter eggs, just like the author of The Mysterious Spy is Anne Scardino, a nod to Meredith Scardino. Any other Easter eggs that are just visible on screen?
Oh gosh, I'm sure.
At the very end, I love that a lot of choices you don't see Bowen Yang or the equally amazing Mimi Canassis, but their credits are coming up at the end. And I always love the idea of you might have finished the whole thing and even seen one of the happy endings and realize I didn't see this Amy or Bowen Yang. Better watch it again.
And the way it ends, we find out that the Reverend has been kicked to death in prison. So does this mean that should there be another Kimmy Schmidt special, we will be Reverendless?
Evil twin. Evil twin.
Ghost Reverend.
Yeah. We'll find a way.
I like this. Okay, so today they did announce that 30 Rock is coming back for a 1-hour special for NBC in July. You're doing something like that. Have you already started thinking, what can we do to bring back Kimmy Schmidt for another special?
Oh my gosh, no, but I would.
Look at this. Look at this screen.
Look at the smoke. Look at the money on the screen. Look at
James.
It doesn't work so well with sweatpants and slippers.
Oh, it works, baby.
Because you still have like the musical option.
Mm-hmm.
You still have, you have fully animated episode that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is super easy. Well, not super easy, but it's something you could get around during coronavirus. Yeah. How do you guys feel? Would you want to come back and revisit these people on maybe a regular basis? Maybe a holiday special?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
There you go.
See, this is what I'm doing is I'm getting them to all agree on film, so you have it.
Only if Daniel plays Rudolph. That's the only
I'm basically in for whatever, so yes, I'll do that.
There you go.
I was talking with
You're
Titus.
doing something dumb though about like Groundhog's Day or something stupid. Like,
Oh, yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, now because you plant the seed of Daniel voicing a sexy cartoon Robin Hood animal.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So, that could be someone else's happy place. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys so much. You're amazing. The special was amazing. I cannot urge people enough to go cancel your plans, go through every option you possibly can, because there's some twisted strands to this story. And honestly, if nothing else, the baby reading scene.
It's amazing.
It's just that is a gift. That is a gift to television. It is absolutely amazing. You guys are great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us for this Paley Front Row conversation presented by Citi. And thanks to creator Tina Fey and Robert Carlock and this incredible cast. Thank you guys so much for being here.